Hey tribe, Dawna here from Transformational Healing. And today we are going to talk about knowledge. This whole entire week, I wanted to talk about different ways that we can accumulate knowledge and whether different places are better or not so good for perhaps getting the knowledge that we are seeking. And I wanted to share with you also a story, like I promised you each week. So that will be coming at the end about when I was in college, a trip that we took to Salem, Mass. And that was inspired because my kids went to Salem for the first time with some friends and another mom. This past weekend, they did not have the same experience that I did, but they did not go on Samhain. So we thought it would be a great idea to go to Salem on Samhain. So just let me check my connection and make sure everything is good and that we are actually live. Check that real quick. If you guys are watching on the replay or watching live here now, give me a hashtag live or a hashtag replay to let me know that you're here and what questions you have and all that sort of thing. Even if the questions come in afterwards, I can always answer them in the question box, but it also gives me some great ideas for what to talk about live next time. So if you are inspired and you have different questions and different ideas during the week, you can always send me message, send me an email, um, all kinds of ways to reach out. You can find all that information in the About section. I'm on IG and Facebook, and then the website, which is transformationalhealingbydawna.com. So, when we talk about knowledge, what does knowledge really mean? I mean, are we talking about book knowledge? Are we talking about experience knowledge? And those things are slightly different. We can learn a lot from reading books, but we can't learn everything. And we have to learn how to use our gut and how to be able to be instinctual about whether something is true or not. How does it really feel? Not when you think about it, how does it feel right away? That kind of how does the energy feel about that situation? Those things are a lot more vital. There's a really loud car going by. It keeps going back and forth. Um, so there are places that are good to get knowledge, and those could be some of the people that are a little bit more well known in some of the fields that you are looking in. And that doesn't matter whether you're talking about scientific stuff and medicinal herbalism. There are herbalists that are known and that are more trusted. There are guilds and support groups that are more trusted for looking for good information. And the same thing goes for the different types of earth spirituality or the different pagan beliefs that are out there. There are people who have worked really hard to study and who are working in a good way to pass down that information. Well, along with that, there are also people who either purposely or unintentionally are passing down lots of misinformation across all of these things as well. And sometimes it's really hard to understand what would be misinformation and what would be good information. And I guess that the best way when you are looking for the truth of something is to go with that gut instinct, go with what feels right to you. Now, remember, when we're talking about spiritual practices and magical things, you don't have to do what this person says or what that person says because When it comes to your spiritual beliefs, to me, it's what you feel in your heart that is what is best for you to follow for your path. That is what you need to do. Just because someone else does it this way, or I do it this way, or this person does it that way, doesn't mean that that is the right way. That is the right way for us, for them, for me, and for this person over here. So when you're seeking out knowledge and experience, it's good to look in various different places. But it's also, once you have that, well, I know the answer to that. Did you see the attitude? If you start to get to that place of, well, I know that this is true, and you're adamant about it, perhaps you need to actually take a step back and check the ego a little bit and check in. And are you at that place of, well, I know that this is right because you have had experiences with it? How did you get to that place? And why are you so stuck on no one else having a different experience and thinking that something else is right? Take a step back and make sure that you check where you are coming from. And that's what I mean by getting to the other side of knowledge. Just because to you something is true when it comes to spiritual things does not mean that it is true for everyone. We are all on different paths up the mountain, and those paths lead us in different ways, and those paths crisscross and then go in different directions. But there's as many paths as there are people. And just because something works for you does not mean that you can force it onto anyone else or tell them that what they're doing is not right. Now, if someone's doing something and it's harming other people, point out that it's harming other people. But if what they're doing is just something that you're like, that's interesting and that's not for me, but if it makes them happy and it makes them feel connected to Source, connected to God, then as long as it's not hurting anyone, they can continue to do whatever it is that they're doing that works for them. If they're hurting themselves with it, talk to them about it. But don't say, you can't do that. That's not the way you do that. No, try to understand why. And that helps your knowledge base. I have worked with hundreds of people throughout the last 30 years. And I have learned so many different ways to do things that I can pass on when people are seeking knowledge and they come and they're looking for different ways to do things. I don't ever tell any of you, this is the way that you need to do this. I may say, this is the way that I do this, but I know other people that do this, this, or this. Which way feels right to you? I'll explain more. That is how I try to spread knowledge, by being open to learning new things all the time. So we're going to keep today's live a little bit shorter. I don't see that any of you are here, but if you're here, give me a hashtag live and feel free to pop in and ask questions. And I'm actually watching Star Splendor today. You can see the little meditation space in the background here. So here comes the train, speaking of Star and Splendor. And I'm sure that we're going to have customers. I had someone leave literally right at 2:01 today. So I'm assuming that more people will come in, and I want to be able to tell you my story about Salem. So when I was in college, I was at UConn, and I first started at UConn in 92, but then I left for a little while, the full-time campus, and went and took part-time couple semesters and then went back. So probably around 95, 96 is when I'm talking now. So when I was at UConn, I was part of a group that was one of the supported clubs, supported organizations on campus that you can get funding from the Student Board of Governors and things like that. And it was called the Pagan Organization for Diverse Spirituality. And we called it PODS. And most of the kids in it were younger because I had left and gone back to school. So um, I was a little bit older than most of the other people that were in the group, but I was not by any means the oldest. Um, and we called ourselves pods or podlings. Um, so the group often used the money from the student council, from the student board of governors, to be able to go on experiential trips, to be able to go do holidays, things, and that sort of stuff. So we decided that for Samhain, for Halloween, that we were going to go to Salem, Massachusetts. Now, we did not stay in a hotel or anything. We said that we would stay at a campground to keep expenses down. So they paid for the camping, they paid for the gas money there and back, and a few other, like incidental things, like they gave us X number of money for food or something. So we went, and our goal was to find rituals that we could attend, or a good ritual that we could attend in Salem, Mass, because it's Salem, Mass, and it's Samhain. There has to be amazing rituals happening. So we drove in and took forever to get there, and we enjoyed the day in Salem. The day was awesome. And then we made sure that we had set up camp and we had everything ready. And we went back into Salem, early evening. I would say 6, 7 o'clock, looking for the rituals that we thought would be happening in Salem. Well, do not ever go to Salem on Samhain just out in the general public area and expect to find any rituals going on. There was a pet cemetery ritual, there was a pet ritual, but all of the other things that were happening were all private. They were all paid events. They were all scheduled in advance. You had to have tickets in advance. There was nothing that night going on in Salem except for drunken rowdiness in the street. So I was with a lot of younger people. I was 21. I wasn't going to be drinking at all, but it was kind of like what you would think Mardi Gras would be like in New Orleans. And that was what Salem was that night. And it was not what any one of them was expecting. And several of them started to freak out. So I'd say that there were about 15 of us, and we were not all together because we had separated to go looking for the stuff. And some of them went out. I went out with the first group that was looking, and the other group had stayed behind. And so these guys all just started freaking out. And I decided I was going to try to practice my shielding skills, which I had been getting better at. And it was interesting. So they just needed to leave, and they all just wanted to leave right now. And they were so freaked out by because they had freaked themselves out, they were spiraling freak energy around. And so I had about half the group, about 6 or 7 people with me, and I basically just kind of shielded them all off from all of the craziness and the energy that was going on, and said, let's just go back and do our own ritual. Let's go. Let's go back to the campground, and we'll get settled in. And on our way back, they just kept freaking out at everything, because you know how when you start to see something and the like attracts like, and that law of attraction type thing, well, they were attracting all the negative energy to them because they were afraid of everything that was around them, and they were full of, it was full of energy. So they were basically freaking out and then freaking themselves out because they were freaking out. And as we were walking, I just kept them protected. And the shielding thing that I had been doing, I had been playing with it, but I had no idea that it could work or didn't work. I hadn't experienced something that proved to me that it was working, besides it felt better. So they were calmed down. And the shield was like you think about hematite. It was like moving hematite mirrors around us. That's what I was doing. Just like a moving amorphous hematite, and that you'd see right through it. So they would never know you were there. It was kind of, that was my intention in my head. It was the picture I was picturing in my head. So as we're walking down this side of the street, the other half of our group is approaching on this side of the street. And this is not a busy street. We are not in downtown at this point in time. We are out in the middle of nowhere. You're talking a quiet street. And you had a group of 8 people and a group of 6, 7, 8 people. And on each sidewalk, on each side of the street. And these guys they're talking about the fact that we wonder where everyone else is. Where are they? I don't know why, why we haven't come across them yet. Maybe we missed them in Salem. We should try to get a hold of them. This and the other thing. And I hear on the other side of the street, these guys are looking for us. But the only one of them that saw me was one of them who I had been practicing this shielding work with. And he looked right at me and I looked at him and he just went, huh, and just kind of put his head up and he just kept walking and nobody else saw us. And in my group, nobody in the other group saw each other either. And so I just thought that was really kind of cool. And so, but, I didn't want to know I needed to know if it was really in my head or not. And none of them saw each other. Like we talked when they came back. Because I sent the person a message when I had these guys safe, and they brought everyone back, and we all did a big, nice ritual on the beach, just outside of Salem. We're on the edge of Salem, of our own, and had a nice ancestor ritual there. But learning and knowledge and experience, and you don't know whether something's really working or not. And what I was told by that person that had seen me was the only person they saw was me, that I was walking by myself. And I was like, what are you talking about? I'm like, I have had all of them. And he's like, I only saw you. You let me see you. I didn't see anybody else. I just thought you were walking back by yourself and something happened. So it was interesting. But we gain experience by practicing and by working with things. But could I do that again? I tried to do that again. It didn't work. It didn't work because maybe it wasn't a necessity, or because maybe I wasn't focusing, or who knows why. But I've been able to do it since, but I wasn't able to do it then again, when I was younger and trying to do stuff like that. But over the years, I've learned different tricks and tips and things like that. And I share them with people and just give them to you and let you do what you can with them. But always doing things for the good of all and the good of the universe, and always doing things out of love. So I hope that you enjoyed my little story. I'm hoping that maybe you think about where you're getting your information from, and being very careful about some of your online sources for being able to get knowledge, because I find so much misinformation all over the internet about things. This week, I'm going to share with you on Tuesday some of my favorite shamanic books, and on Thursday, some of my favorite herb books, both medicinal herbs and magical and spiritual uses of herbs. I'm going to combine the two. And that will be our videos for this week. Remember that I'm teaching an Introduction to Shamanic Journey class here at Star Splendor in this room on Wednesday night. And this is in Voorheesville, New York, just outside of Albany. So you can still get tickets by going to starandsplendor.com under the event section, and you can still there's I think just a couple seats left for that class. And then I'll be doing a series later on, and I am also teaching Reiki 1 on, I believe it's November 20th. I'll confirm that in some of my next videos, and I'll confirm that down below. But yep, in November, I will be doing a Reiki 1 certification, and then we'll go forward with that seeing how many people want to go on to Reiki Level 2. Trying to think if there's anything else going on this week. Oh, you can also still get $20 off any visit that you schedule before the 15th. So you have 5 more days to schedule a 1-hour appointment and get $20 off of the 1-hour appointment. The appointment has to be paid for by the 15th, but it doesn't have to be scheduled until before the 31st. So I hope that you have an amazing week. I hope that you look inside and trust your gut and try to pay attention to where you're getting some of your beliefs and your limiting and false beliefs from, and try to see what you can do about that. So I hope that you have a wonderful week, and I will see you on Tuesday. Many blessings, tribe. See you soon.